Hey folks, welcome to Tilt Responsibly. My name is Stefen and I'm joined by,
Dr. Lore, aka Josh Matthews.
all right, and you guys might have questions about the name change. We are the podcast formerly known as Decked Out and Dialed In. Dr. Lore went ahead and created a t-shirt that said Tilt Responsibly, and I said, that's it. That's the new podcast name, and we're sticking to it.
Definitely. I think it's more in line with kind of our mission, goal, and vision of this channel to like not only encompass the idea of TCG and how to peak performance and in the community piece, but also just like how to have fun, how to participate in the community, how to like just like sometimes you can just tilt responsibly.
Absolutely. And you could flip it the other way too. If your opponent is not tilting responsibly and you're wearing the shirt, you just say, hey, just do this.
I dig that. I dig it.
A disclaimer, please don't do that to your opponent. That's not kind.
Especially if you win, please don't do that. Please don't do that.
We are not responsible for any actions that happen after that statement or action.
Facts. Factual.
All right. So you haven't seen us for a couple weeks. It's been the holidays, so we've kind of been missing each other. I promise you, we've been trying to plan for it, and today was actually the one day I think that worked for the both of us. Things are busy at work with PPG. Dr. Lore is obviously, a clinical provider, so he's doing his thing there. But I'm happy that we're on. We have plans for obviously more episodes with the name change. We're obviously still excited and can ready to continue engaging and opening up other opportunities to possibly include some additional guests in the future. Go ahead.
100%. 100%. I want to add on that. Like I'm shooting a lofty goal. I have on my personal channel, I have a video coming out about goal setting. My lofty goal is one week, one video a week. Whether that we publish it, I want to shoot one video a week. And I want to, range in topics, and would that be just, even talking about cool card reveals that we see start to roll out now versus like actual, like more of the mental health and in that dynamic. I think, me and you have great conversation. I got to, see you in person again, which was a wonderful experience for me at TCG Con Miami, which was a lot of fun. But you're right, the holidays hit like a ton of bricks, and we both have families, so it's like herding cats sometimes, and trying to get 45, 50 minutes to pop into my office and actually have some time to sit down and do this was a little challenging.
Yeah. And even from you could think of it like a meta thought, but like this alone can be therapeutic, right? For what you do deal with daily. And what I like to talk about, these are actually really fun sessions to talk about, what's going on, things in the game, outside the game, related to, not related to, and we appreciate you guys continuing to join along and follow us as we have these conversations. I think the first topic that we should probably cover is kind of like what's been going on, right? So, last at the time of the recording, I believe DLC Richmond was 2 weekends ago.
Yep, 2 weekends ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Dr. Ward unfortunately couldn't make it, but I was there with my team, and we all sucked, and except one person. And shout out to Freddie Rivera on Team Illuminati, who made top 16 of DLC Richmond, which was a fantastic feat to watch for anybody. Right, it's
mhm.
a challenging. Like DLC season this year is super tough to make day two, let alone top cut. So it was nice to cheer him on. My man's been putting in the work. So very, very well rewarded. Just shy of a golden Mickey, which feels bad for just about anybody.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he's already has plans for Continentals, Indy. My man is hungry. So shout out to him. And other than that, I actually really enjoyed the event. I enjoyed seeing friends. Like I think that's one of my favorite things. About a DLC or a comparative event being that sometimes, whether you're doing good or not, like you have a good support group, community, right? Always checking in, like, hey, how's your run going? How are you feeling? Those types of things always feel great, no matter where you are in the tournament. So
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely missed you there. I had a lot of fun seeing you in Milwaukee, but again, you came down to Miami TCG Con, which was super nice. And
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
you
I
can
think the
tell us a little bit about
DLC. Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah, the DLCs are great. I think, and something I hear from everyone that goes to them, and I have personally experienced this as well, is that kind of like DLC hangover, where it's like you're around all of these, fellow Illumineers, and yeah, there's the competitive side, but like everyone's going to dinner together, everyone's talking, everyone's engaging, and it's just like you're just kind of like wrapped in this kind of like really great Lorcana blanket per se. uh and then you come back to the real world and you're like, okay, well, this doesn't feel as great, and you can have that little, like, TCG or DLC hangover. So I was sad I couldn't go, but I was really happy I could come down to the TCG Con Miami and see you and see the team down there.
Got it. Don't be so humble. What did you do down there?
I played some Lorcana. I played a little Emerald Sapphire.
Where did that get you?
It's a good deck. I took first place in a Saturday event. Thank you, thank you.
Congratulations.
And then we split the top cut in this Sunday event as well. So um, it was a good deck, and my boy Max Goof came through, and that was my little spice I added to it, and I think it paid off. But I had a wonderful time. Not even just playing with people that I don't usually get to play with. Also seeing some of the casters that were there, and seeing some of the artists that were there, and then also like walking around the event, and just seeing all the different TCGs. Some that are coming out. Obviously Pokemon was real thick there, but that's to be expected.
Pokemon and One Piece, both two very lucrative games right now in the collector space.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, in very interesting, community bases, and kind of, one thing I think we'll talk about a little later, some things I've been hearing, even with those communities, is this kind of idea of community, of playing, of some frustrations inside of the community, and how that bleeds over to the enjoyment of the game, whether it be like Pokemon and having difficulties finding product, and then you have like One Piece, a lot of people moving from Pokemon to One Piece, and that big shift in the culture there when you influx a whole new group of people in, and that kind of dynamic it brings.
Yeah, no, I have a great example of that actually. Being, at PPG, I try to stay very familiar with a lot of the popular games. I mean, I'm no stranger to talking about it, but I have been getting into Riftbound,
Okay.
and I just finished putting together the remainings of a Kaisa deck when the new set is coming out in less than a month. So that feels great. Um, that's a tough game to get into now. Product is very short. Singles are coming down because there's no competitive events until the Vegas qualifier, which will be Spirit Forge legal. So I think a lot of people are just kind of cashing out on cards they don't think are going to translate well into the set two meta, and they'll go ahead and just kind of recycle that money back into set two relevant cards. What's really neat about Riftbound is that because the cards are already released in China, um, and the way that the rules allow you to play a deck as long as because Ripbound has a couple of different decks, and as long as the entire deck itself is in the specific printed language, it's considered legal. So, like, for example, you can have a set 2 deck that is all Chinese. Your runes can be English. Uh, Locations is another one, that I believe can be either or language. But I found that very unique and interesting, but that kind of makes it a lot easier and sometimes even more affordable to start playing set two. Me personally, I still read my cards, so I will have a hard time doing that. So I'm electing to stick to English only, also out of respect for my opponent who might need to read my cards too.
Fair.
So um, that's interesting to say the least. I luckily I was able to snag a box during the pre-order wave in on the Riot merch store.
Uh-huh.
I don't know exactly when I'll be getting the box. To be honest with you, I'm not really in a rush. Riftbound is kind of like my secondary game right now. My heart's still with Lorcana. I'm still trying to focus on Lorcana competitively, practicing Infinity for, fingers crossed, getting into Indie. But it's a fun game. It's a game that makes you think a lot, and I'm happy to see its growth and demand. And I'm sad to see that people are still hurting to play the game, and it's either the affordability is out of reach for them, or products just not available. I think it just feels bad in general. You kind of want as many people playing the game as possible.
Yeah, and I've been dipping my toes in a few different TCGs lately. I have a built a commander deck for in Magic. I do have some Riftbound. I was able to get a hold of 2 booster boxes and kind of build and play some decks there. Cookie Run has been fun. It's just a fun game. And then a new TCG that I picked up at TCG Con Miami. Um, um, Drawing a blank on the name. It's
Shard bugs.
Shard Bugs. Yes, and that was kind of fun too. Kind of
So
has
you two are in the splat zone now, huh?
I was in the splat zone, but it's just fun. I picked up some starter decks. I want to focus on Lorcana for the competitive, but I just feel like the people I know that are the best at Lorcana have so many experience at other TCGs, other formats. I think those have opportunity to teach you great things and great other strategies that when cards come out, you can be like, oh, hey, I know that strategy. Oh, I know that concept from here. I think it really can spark a lot of great strategy and kind of this mental stimulation. So I've been taking this time where this meta feels a little towards its end, as they usually do, to kind of pick up other TCGs and kind of expand my knowledge.
Yeah, that's a that's fair, right? I do agree with you when like playing other TCGs kind of helps you understand some mechanics that have yet to come to Disney Lorcana. So you kind of like, for example, when I was getting back into Riftbound, totally lost the muscle memory of being able to play cards on my opponent's turn, since
Mm,
that's not a thing in Lorcana yet. But it's planning your resources, because if you're tapped out in Riftbound, your opponent knows that they can go, they're in turn, they don't have to worry about any type of interaction unless you have some zero cost things, which I'm not too familiar with. I don't know if that's in Riftbound yet, but um, those kinds of things are a real thing in Riftbound and other games that allow you, like Magic is, obviously with instant speed and stuff like that. So it is nice and refreshing to play other games and also be nostalgic to some of the other games. So literally on Twitter today, I was talking about going back and forth with a couple of members talking about versus system. So
mm.
that was actually one of my first TCGs I ever played in high school. And I was just saying, every time I saw boost on a Lorcana card, I was like, what is that from? And actually, that term was used in versus system. However, it might be more familiarly known as kicker in Magic, because it's
Okay.
an added cost for an added effect on the card. So it was a nice little back and forth. But again, like I think back and like, wow, if I stuck with versus system, like how strong would I be before Lorcana, right? Because I had a huge gap
Mhm.
between. But good times. I think playing a range of card games is super great, and again, just bring a lot of ideas to and from each other game, and it's nice.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be a starter deck warrior. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pick up as many starter decks from different TCGs, play it, have fun, but then do the competitive thing on the Lorcana side. And I think that that can be a great opportunity to like just like I said, expand in knowledge, but also just have fun. I mean, because at its core, this is a hobby. I think something me and you were talking about in person is kind of the siloed nature of sometimes of TCGs. Like people like kind of put their flag in the ground, like this is my TCG, and I'm like, as a community, I think we all share a lot of commonality between every person and every fan of whatever IP they're particularly drawn to. And I think part of that is like community building, community like connection, right? Whether that being tournaments, league plays, at your LGSs. I think also a part of that is some of this like intellectual stimulation, which is really great. And then there's this kind of also creativity in there. And then like, and then you talk about like the other aspects of just like what goes into strategy and kind of that kind of also that stimulation of like the strategization and implementation of those strategies. I think we all can really agree like that is the biggest piece. And I think something me and you, I think, might, you know, broach a little bit more in this conversation is when some of those factors kind of get impacted with a current meta or a shift in meta or rotation. We all can kind of get frustrated or kind of get, in our feels about, that shift and how that impacts us, whether it be our local community shrinking a little bit, whether that be, the lack of color pairings that we like to play, or even just like, some of the strategy that we have to play is less, it's more straightforward and maybe less um s- t- tactically oriented. That's a good way to phrase it.
Got it. So we're pretty much calling out the Lorcana meta right now being pretty play draw, and the effect of there's not a lot of agency.
I want to take a fine line and say Locrano's not bad. It's not. I don't think it's in a bad place. I think if you look at the numbers, you look at what people are doing, look at the DLC, look at the money Disney is putting into this, look at the events that Disney parks we're having, and like that to me speaks volumes. I just think right now there is a little bit of lack of agency inside of some games, right? I think everyone can agree that it feels very like, do you got it? Okay. And that doesn't feel great, but I think we have a great opportunity to kind of build and move forward. And but I think every game goes through that to some extent. Every game goes to this place. And then again, we can get discouraged and frustrated, because I think one thing again we spoke about, I think in person, was this it's almost nostalgia piece of like what something represents to us. And this has a big psychological effect on us, right? We have this idea of like, man, I remember when set championships were this big, and I remember when we had like everyone had 1,000 cards in their hand, and like we can make these great decisions, and like it felt fun and it felt engaging. And I think while that being true, I think what can happen though is we get stuck in that perspective, and then we feel like that diminishes the other aspects, right? It diminishes like the community building. It diminishes the creativity we can find in that. Like I said, I threw Max Goof in my deck, and no one plays Max Goof. Like I was like, no, I'm gonna play Max Goof because I want to have fun with this. I want to put Max Goof down, turn him sideways, and do two Mother's Knows Best in a turn, or two You're Welcomes in a turn, and that's what I want to do, because I think spicing up life is important. But I think also we can't get stuck in the nostalgia position. We can recognize for what it is and say like, I really love that part of the community. How can we, keep growing and also keep evolving inside of that? Understand that the game is going to evolve.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Don't get me wrong. I love turn three aerial, turn forcing, wheel, Zeus. I miss all of that. But
Yeah, I miss all the wheel.
but you know, if there's anything that uh helped me become better in Lorcana, it was being forced to be uncomfortable, right? I almost felt like I had to relearn the game after rotation, right? Ember Steel isn't typically a deck that challenges, or Steel Song wasn't a deck that challenged a lot. It used a lot of, action songs to deal with the board and just quest. So I honestly felt like I learned a new game because I transitioned to Blurple, which is very combat oriented. So um, I was definitely uncomfortable, but I will say that because of that, that allowed me to start exploring about being a more well-rounded player
Mhm.
and having the ability to play and understand other decks, so I knew how to play against them. And I
Yeah.
think I can lay a lot of gratitude in that, because of how well I did in Milwaukee, right? Um, so I'm very optimistic, right? I know that sometimes that social media can really apply a lot of pressure with dooming when it comes to specific games. I've taken part of it. Sometimes it felt sad seeing, big tournament or what used to be big tournaments to barely firing. And I think that's one of the things I missed the most because they were the most challenging and fun. And, while it wasn't a DLC, it was the next best thing because far and few in between are these DLCs. So, it's just not like honestly, like before I used to be really competitive for pins, man. I wanted every single pin. I didn't care who else needed one. I wanted them all. And that has translated into I just love playing cards with my friends.
Yeah.
Win or lose, like it's funny. You used to get mad at not winning 4 packs. Like you can just go buy them, dude. Like it's not that big of a deal. But there's a larger social aspect of it, which was what my original intention with Lorcana was, right, was to be
Mhm.
more social. I used to play a lot of board games with a lot of close friends, and since we have, grown our families and since departed to our own journeys, I was looking for something to pick up that was a lot easier, to commit to versus, like, super long, crunchy board games I used to play.
Yeah.
So, I miss, I miss that part of it, and I think that when you take that part of it and you try to, um, be passionate about the frustration, sometimes it can come off, negative, but it's mainly about just, like, I miss it. I miss it.
Yeah, and there's also a valid fear in there when you have this comparison of like the heights of the game, and then you see where in some ways it's not the same. And that fear comes because we all have emotional investment in this. I think we've gone to locals, we've created friends, and then we see maybe our tournaments being less filled, or our local LGSs not having as many people for events, and that natural fear that sets in of like of loss, right? And then become like loss averse to it, and then frustration. And then we look for things to say like the places to put that, right? Whether that be the local LGS, whether it be the distributors, whether that be the people in the community, or even going higher up. We're looking for that place to put that energy, because those emotions are just energy. And I think it's first of all valid to like stop for a second and be like, I'm scared that something I love and something that's brought so much joy to me might disappear. I think that's a human experience for everyone, really. I mean, that's just like the human experience. And I think it's also fair to recognize the nostalgia of it, of like the peak of like, oh, when the first set championships are crazy. Well, yeah, it's a new TCG. I think we got to put it in some context, but also like, don't look back with the sense of dread, but look back with a sense of love. Like, wow, look at that! Like that was such a great experience. And how can we adapt? We might never get back to like those first, Rockstar Stitch set championship days, but it might look differently. We might have different opportunities. We might lean into different kind of competitions. I think they're really looking at expanding CCQs, right? I always say that incorrectly.
Yeah, TCGs.
CCQs, and I think that makes a great opportunity for the community to get together outside of DLCs. I think they're looking at opportunities, and I think as a community, where we have valid emotions, and I think we see those emotions in display online, that in very valid emotions. I think the way, and I'm not telling people how to express their emotions, what to feel, what to think, but I think we need to connect around those emotions, that shared emotional experience, and not like kind of tear ourselves or tear each other down, because then it just like fractures something that's already fragile.
Yeah, I think it's tough because sometimes, the people that are the loudest in the conversation are typically the ones that are the most intense, competitive. Right, so, taking those personality traits and applying it like, you could take someone who's saying who means to say, "I love Lorcana and want to see it do better," and the way that they verbalize it is, "I hate what's going on right now. I hate what I have to do in this game. I hate everything, and I remember it being much better." So, I think a lot of it has to do with framing that conversation, right? I think, you know, maybe in a previous generation, like the negative complaints would make um would make the moves that you want versus now where there are people that the moment you're negative, they stonewall, they tune out, they don't care. Um, so that's why it's important to try to make your statement with constructive criticism. And sometimes those people that are receptive will say that, like, listen, if you don't have anything constructive to say about it, like it sounds like you're coming from an emotional standpoint, um, might need to, you know, be put on ice for a little bit until you can come back and like really take this and like, sure, let's both identify there's a problem. Let's both find a way to fix it.
And I think two things can be true at once. I think those emotions can be valid because I think to some extent people are witnessing some of the decisions that are being made, whether it be on a local or a larger scale. And everyone again has the right to criticize or have their feelings towards that. I'm not, please don't hear that I'm telling people they can't feel that way. But then we have to ask ourselves what's in our control, right? And I think here's the point I really want to make on this is like that happens at DLCs. Those same individuals that are really loud online, really maybe negative, tearing things down, go to a DLC and then come back out and be like, "I love this game. I love the community," because they got to experience the thing that they love the most. They got to experience the thing that they like the most. So again, it's a valid emotional experience. Like it feels like this thing is being pulled away from me because of whatever decisions are being made and I don't feel like I have agency. Okay, so like he, to your point, the constructive feedback, what is in my control? What things can I do on a local level? I mean, even for myself, like I saw my local community start to shrink and I, donated some money to try to in some decks to some shops. I donated some money to a 1K to try to like incentivize that. Like what is in my control to do in this community to bring people into play, to get people connected, even in my local shops, when people come in like, "Hey, what are you playing?" I always just, have a ton of extra cards and some like, just common, decks that can be played. And I was like, "Hey, take this deck, play it. You can have it." Like, because I have tons of bulk because we have a whole podcast on ripping packs, and I tend to do that.
My name is Dr. Lore and I have a problem.
And I have a pack ripping problem. Corey always says like, "What do you need?" I'm like, "Nothing.
The answer is I need dopamine.
I need shiny cards." So, but to circle back to what we're saying, like those emotions are valid. Like I think it's a sign of how much people care. I made a post back when there was a bunch of stuff going on, and I said, you can't say we're not a family. It's the holidays, and we're acting like one, because I think underneath all of the, regardless of how people are expressing, I think underneath it is we love this game, we love the community it created, we love to have fun, we love to play with Disney characters and turn them sideways and attack each other, and
Challenge. Challenge.
sorry,
They do not attack each other. They
you're right.
challenge.
Challenge. And then we love it how that brings us together. And I think having a fear that it goes away speaks to the magnitude and the power of the thing. And that's where we
I
need to put
like
that.
I like what you said, because sure, everyone has layers, right? Through life experiences, through similar hobbies. But the one foundation that it comes to, whether it's Disney Lorcana or any other TCG that you're very passionate about, I think that everyone wants to see the game succeed, the game live, the game continue to flourish. Now, what I think is positive for the game can be very different from those who actually have the power to make those changes to the game happen, as well as my peers, right? So, like, that, like, I think that's a big part of it. Like, I feel like a lot of people can feel unheard, um, which I think, like, lays into that feeling of like, I missed this or, so very similar, right? When the truth of the matter is like you're probably heard. I mean, like, like Ravensburger has a social media team that probably scours very deep across everyone's opinions, takes the constructive criticism, brings it back to the game designers, and these are what people are most vocal about, right? So just because you're not getting a response back doesn't mean you're not heard. This game or I like to equate it, because I worked in software for a very long time, and there were a lot of people who were trying to disrupt what they would call like large cruise ships, right? You had the boats or like the anchor boats that could be agile and pivot, where a cruise ship has to take hours to like recoordinate, right?
Mhm.
So um, let's say you and I were making a card game right now, right? What are we using? We're using index cards, pencils, erasers. If there's something we hate in the game, it's as simple as erasing the card, fixing it, and continuing to iterate. Versus like this game is established. This game has already been planned X amount of sets in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Like their prints, ordered print cycles and how many reprints are coming, and like so, like the things that we've complained about in the first chapter might have been addressed by the time Fable came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that I think is an important thing to realize is that like as much as the game, someone says, "Wow, they had a really great idea." Well, guess what? We can't do anything about it until 2 years from now because that's just how the game's been planned.
Yeah.
So that's um that's something that I've learned to realize as I've seen more of the how the sausage is made when it comes to TCGs. You have a lot of experience as a player. Me working with publishers at PBG and stuff like that, and understanding. I guess I'm a little bit more compassionate,
Yeah.
and I just try to share that same sentiment. Like, hey, they're humans too. They're doing what they can.
You've seen behind the curtain, right? I mean, it's great when you go to Oz and look behind the curtain. But I think the common experience even there is like, I was talking with some really, hardcore Magic players, and they're feeling very similar with the IPs that are coming into their game and how that's changing the dynamic of their game and the culture of their game, and there's this fear that it's going to be lost, right? And again, I think it just comes from that place, and I think one of the major things we can do as a community is just to come together. Again, come together, and even if we come together as a community and say like, here's, in a, like you said, in a constructive way, like here's our points that like we really want to see moving forward, and almost, we know that there's going to be fast acting points. I mean, we've had a couple bans, we've had a couple, things of that, erratas as well. But I think also, understanding that like that's going to be something that's going to be prolonged. And again, we can talk about transparency, inside of the community, but I think as a community, that's where we need to really like share. And we don't have to agree on all the things that we want to see. But I think we need to agree on we need more community, we need more community events, we need more, more Lorcana. And I think that was a sentiment coming out of the last DLC I saw from many people online was just like, I just want more of this. Like I might not love the meta, but like the experience was something I want more of.
Yeah, and I definitely think that Ravensburg is taking note. Right? I mean, convention planning again, working behind the scenes. I get the more I'm involved, the more I get it. And I believe that Ravensburger is just as frustrated as the players when it comes to not having enough opportunities for Lorcana. Um, Granted, that's why CCQs exist, but I'm gonna call a spade a spade. A CCQ will never replace the magic that a DLC brings.
I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. I mean, I think it's DLC light, but again, where I'm circling back to is what's in our control, right? And that's where I think we can find agency and connection. Whether that be even theme nights at your local LGS, and like, you know, one thing we do at my local LGS during this kind of time where the meta is a little bit stale and we're waiting for the next set and some releases are coming out is we play like theme decks. We just like we go, hey, we're gonna abandon the meta and we're just gonna play theme decks and have some fun. And then, and just have a good time with it because at this point, like our local areas ran out of like promos and stuff. So we're just like, we're just having fun. And I think getting back to the community and fun piece when things feel the rockiest is connecting back to what foundations of this game can be. And same thing with any TCG, whether it be Magic. You know, that's why I think the powerful aspect of like the commander aspect of Magic is powerful because like we're just gonna sit around and have fun as a friend group. Like, you know, yeah, I know there's a competitive side to it, but like I think that, you know, again, I'm not a Magic expert, but speaking to people with Magic kind of saved Magic in a way because it was headed down a path that, you know, was in an interesting way. And then like this commander format came out and it was like, oh, okay, like, hey, this is fun. And like we can have fun and connect with the people and make a community out of it. So, I mean, that's just the big thing. You know, obviously, as a mental health provider, I'm always big on community connection, finding agency in the small areas in life where we have it, especially when it's been taken and or we've lost it. And I think it's easy to see what we've lost. It's hard to see where we can invest in what we have. And
That's
again,
fair.
not saying to not advocate for your needs. I'm saying that the foundation gives you something to stand on, so then you can advocate in a way, like you said, like that's effective.
Yeah. And then also, like, just looking forward too, right? You talk about like things like meta being solved and doing stuff for fun, but you know what else is fun? Reveal season, right? So Winter Spell is right around the corner. I love the direction that Lorcana has gone with the first few sets. They would release like one card at a time, and it was painful to follow along.
I
But
like the
they,
slow drip though. I
oh
do.
no, man, get that hose, rip it open. I want to see 20 cards a day.
It's too
Um,
much for me to keep up with. Every time I open my phone today, I had to scroll through 1,000 things.
But, I like the direction that they've gone in, so, like, they'll delay the reveals until right about when Set Champs ends, start hyping up the next set. I'm a huge fan of a lot of cards that I've seen already. I'm a big fan of the Set Champs card. I cannot wait to see the mat. My mother-in-law loves Tinkerbell, so I'm gonna have to probably fight for a couple of shiny cards. But, other than that, you know, I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm sure a lot of more people are excited too. Yeah, I mean, this is just a cycle that we're going through in season 2. You know, we got a lore cast on Tuesday that announced, what I believe is the rest of the roadmap for 2026. So, Wilds Unknown, it comes out in May. Toy Story is one of the properties that is been promoted, so that's super fun. There's a lot of nostalgia around Toy Story. A lot of people love Toy Story. We're starting to see more Pixar, so I know that we got some teasers for the following set,
Yes.
Attack of the Vines? I
Yeah.
think it's Attack of the Vines because it sounds like a play on words of, Attack on Divines. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but, they showed some properties. Well, I having a brain fart right now. Coco.
Coco? Yeah, I saw
Coco,
Coco.
huge family, favorite, and what I remember a lot about Coco was music. So my hope is that there's a lot of songs and that they are amber or steel, and we're back in steel song world, baby.
Hey, you got, one of the releases today, you know, you definitely got, your, Rapunzel on action, so, like, that's
Yeah, Ohana means family, that one, or Ohana is family. That one is cool, but I am most excited about the one that is, like, what, Pete on an action
yep,
song?
Pete
2
on
Cost, what's it called again?
oh, you're gonna hit me with that. I'm terrible with the names of the cards.
Come on, man. I thought you were a Lorcana player.
Like I said, I had to scroll through. It was a busy day at work. I had to scroll through 1,000, you know, messages in different cards. But up is in the
Yeah?
background of one of the things. There was a house line, so up's is an IP that's going to be coming up. I think the Toy Story one. That's the one I'm focused on. I'm pumped.
Yeah. Toy Story is cool. I think they did show, a card of Buzz already that is laying into, like, some flexibility with the cost of characters. So my thing, like thematically, toys aren't really threatening until they attack you in masses. So my thought is that a Toy Story themed deck would be very reminiscent of what currently is like the Turnidogs right
Okay.
now. So a lot of like weenies, right? That kind of like strengthen each other. until they just completely overwhelm the board.
There's a toy soldier like aggro deck. I
But
I
but
really want a Floodborn Alien Shift.
you you with your Shift Fred or your aliens,
I like, I want, or hear me on this. And this is in Ruby, we can have a Buzz Lightyear card that is falling in style as a subtext, and just make him another Maui. I'm a reprint Maui as Buzz Lightyear.
that's fair. No, I don't miss Maui, so I have no notes there to share with you.
It's my
But, yeah, no, like, but again, you know, roadmap is a roadmap. It I think it's important. I haven't seen, Lorcana, um, be like this without some type of confidence. So, again, leaning into a lot of what their strategy is, like obviously wishing them the best and the community as well too as they navigate through this. Because again, I still think it's funny. I'm trying, like I am. My head is in like all these different directions right now because like there are people who are super excited about a new set. There are people who are also super excited about exploring Infinity again.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, like, when rotation was announced, people looked at it as these are cards being taken away from us.
Mhm.
We've been so focused on core constructed because that's the format for competitive play.
Yeah.
But now we're switching back to Infinity for the next DLC in the United States. And I have to say that it has been so refreshing playing with cards that I have not been able to play with in months. Um, I I I was very short-sighted on my opinion early on. I thought a rotation was a bad idea this early in the game, but, I think I kinda put my foot in my mouth because 'cause I'm, like, super excited. There are a couple different decks in Infinity, and, I think 90% of them are locked for cards from the current sets now, and very like I don't what I'm saying is I don't think that there are a lot of cards that Winter Spell and Wilds Unknown can add that would change the core dynamics of the top tier decks in Infinity. Um, now, unless they include or introduce some type of ban list for Infinity that can shake things up.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard to do something like that without having all the card pools available.
Mhm.
Timing might be a little bit weird with Wilds Unknown, but I will say that I am anticipating some type of ban list between Winter Spell and Wilds Unknown.
I'd
Um,
agree with that.
you know, I could see it being a mirror of Constructed to start. Um, I will say the only losses I had in the Infinity Sunday event were to Blue Steel. And I did not miss Hiram and Fortisphere or dealing with them. But I would like to see some creativity surrounding those cards,
Mhm.
or other cards that enable that deck, right? Just to kind of make things interesting. Um, I don't particularly think Hiram was a super bad card. I do think Fortisphere was too cheap. But uh, other than that, I'm looking forward to some creativity there because it would be nice to see some decks really have to change in order to adapt.
Yeah, I I was it was towards the end of Rare on Rotation. I was a big fan of uh Ruby Emerald discard. I dusted that deck off recently and was like, oh, I remember this being a lot of fun for me at least. And
As your
I
opponent's sitting there like cards in hand, zero, zero. You discarded me 2 turns ago. I have
just want to
nothing left.
I just want to be like, can I give you a card so I can discard it and draw another card, please? Or dropping that Ursula and pulling that B prep right before Ruby Ruby Sapphire, yoink. But no, I think there can be some great nostalgia, and I think also again it brings some creativity. I agree that there probably will be a ban list of some sort. I mean, you know, uh, me and you've had a conversation about this. Is like I feel personally broken cards are cards that either have an unfair ETB or a card that doesn't have to be exerted to get an effect. Like that's why I think Prince Sean's not fair because you can just it's ward and can live there and doesn't turn sideways and gets its effect. And and that's similar with Bucky. It just lived on board and you just got the effect because it lived there. So I think even with things like Hiram, if he just said on quest banish item draw two, he's a fair card at that point. But I think
That's true.
both is what makes it a little challenging because you can draw a lot of cards.
That's true. And with Infinity too, I think a lot of people value a lot of ETB effects. And as those are added to the game, I don't think they're added as frequently as the first few sets,
Yeah.
but those tend to get valued because removal is so abundant in Infinity at all cost, right? So um, a character to stick around to do part of your combo, unless it has a ward, might be really difficult.
Yeah.
Um, I will say that that's probably one of the things that I'm grateful for in the rotation is that that kind of like slowed it down.
Hmm.
But I think whether Lorcana, Magic, or anything, ETB is just kind of very like the primary thing because if anything, if I lose that character, item, location, it gave me some value as I played it versus literally getting time walked.
Oh, yeah, I agree. You know, uh, uh, I think ETBs are great. But I am curious if there's going to be any kind of, like you said, ban list. I could see a couple cards entering into that ban list, especially right before the DLC. But I mean, we'll see. But I do hear at first there was some grumblings about it, but I also have been hearing, even in my local area, people are like, "Hey, can we meet up to play Infinity? Does anyone want to test Infinity?" Like in, dusting the dust off those binders and pulling those cards out again does have a cool little nostalgia effect, but also, I think it again sparks the creativity, it keeps it fresh. And I recognize that for some people brings a learning curve up because again, like you said, if every card you play has something it does, then it can get spicy quick.
Yeah. So my team has been practicing for Infinity. The majority of us, if not all, actually, are intending to go to Indy. What are your thoughts? Like, let's say if Indy was tomorrow and there was no ban list and the cards in the card pool where they were what they were, would you be going to Indy?
I don't have a lot of testing. If I could play, and this is just solely about like my personal, if I could play Emerald Ruby discard or some version of Ruby Amethyst, I probably would go if it was a viable deck to play, like one of those two. I liked playing, Ruby Sapphire, but it's just not. I'm kind of how do I say? I'm kind of burnt out on Ram decks to be honest. I'm a mid range kind of guy at my heart, and I've been playing ramp decks towards the end of last set until Emerald Ruby came out, and I was like, I'm playing this like because I don't want to play a ramp deck. And then this whole current meta, I've played nothing but Emerald Sapphire. So I'm anything I could take a break from a ramp deck. I think I'd be happy with.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Dr. Lore is not playing Sapphire in Indy, so you have five other inks to worry about.
Yeah, I think what we really need is we need Amethyst to have just a little more draw. I don't think in Infinity it has enough draw.
I think you are absolutely trolling. Yeah, if you did you actually I know it was kind of spoiled, I think unofficially a couple weeks ago, but did you see that Do You Want to Build a Snowman song?
Yes, the one that your opponent gets to answer.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
So not only thematic, just insane. Amethyst is so funny because that's the only ink that I feel wins at like 15 or 16 lore. I'm over here fighting for 20 and you get to 15, 16, and you're just a cobra and a does and that cobra wants to build a snowman.
I hear you. I mean, half the decks I played at the Miami TCG Con, like over half. I played, 3 Amethyst Steel and then one or two mirror matches. And that was legitimately, it was like, I got to prevent them from getting to 15. If I can turn the corner and before then, great. If I can get a Prince Philip shift and then, then drop a Clarabelle letter, then get another Prince Philip shift, I'm doing well because you're right and then if you add the trusty dusty goat back on top of that, you're really playing with fire on top of that.
We sure do miss a Merlin and Madame M bounce package, and you will have your joy to your heart's content, all of infinity, as they are coming back if you decide to play Amethyst.
One of the great part is some of the power creep, like least Fox doesn't live as much as it used to. I remember it used to live, and I was like, oh, I could kill 2 things with this thing, and now, yeah, most 2 drops are 3 threes, so it's a different world.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, like, you just think about it, like, the power of, let's say Fox stays on board, Cheshire Cat's typically falling right afterwards, right? And it's just not it is man, I'm straight up not having fun playing against Amethyst. But, no, again, super exciting, happy and will be attempting to get a ticket to Indy, and I hope that I will see you there, if not sooner.
I hope to be there. I'm gonna do a little practicing with some of my local players around here in Infinity and see what I can play. Again, total joke, but if I get whole new worlded, I'm gonna just pick up my cards and go home. Uh,
Do me a favor, I want you to FaceTime me in that process because
just
I wanna see it happen.
you made the joke of like, who hurt me? And it was set championships being whole new world did 2, 3 times, and like my opponent has 57 cards on board. I'm like, okay, I don't have an answer for that. That was fun for you.
Those were the golden ages, and they were fantastic. I have no notes there either.
Well, I think my big, thing I want the community to hear is like, it's okay to have strong feelings. It's okay to have the feelings of frustration when you see the community that you love and you're connected to in a game you love and connected to shift change and you feel like it's slipping away. But I think there's there's the power of connectivity. There's the power of like DLCs. There's the power of even community-based events. And I think that's in our control to advocate for. I think it's in our control to attend. So we're sending a message that we want more of these things. And then also, hopefully on the online space, we can find a really great outlet to be constructive feedback that we can, hopefully provide that dual relationship. Because again, the business is one side, but the community is one. So another. So I think that's my goal and my hope that, people feel the same. But if you feel differently, there's always the comments down below.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely leave your feedback, and I know, there's a lot of us that are very passionate, so, if you have feedback regarding any of the insight that we've shared today, we'd love to hear it. Maybe, if we have some time during the next video, we'll do I like what Club Lorcana did. They've got, like, a mailbag right now, so they just kinda ask questions out on Twitter and other places, and they got a chance to answer them, which, again, another great opportunity for community engagement. I know we are on a much smaller slice of YouTube for now, but for those that are actually watching from start to finish, truly appreciate it.
Yes.
Before we move into closing thoughts, I guess I still want to kind of keep up with what I did last time with the hot picks.
Mm.
Do you have like anything that's not Lorcana or TCG related? What's Dr. Laura up to these days?
Dr. Lore is my goal for 2026 is balance. So I plan on attending at least 5 to 6 Lorcana events. I'm gonna engage in 2 fitness competitions. I used to do competitive CrossFit, so I'm kind of dabbling back into CrossFit. And to read 12 books. I've already ear read, if you know what I mean, 4 books, so we're already on the road because I feel like I can get obsessive about things. I think I did that with Lorcana, which I don't think was the best for me. I think also that led me into some doom and gloom because, like, I put all my eggs in that basket, but now that I've kinda spread those out a little bit, that intensity is gone, which allows me personally to step up into like really loving the community and really like having more of an optimistic perspective. So for me, that's my strategy. It worked for me. That's what I've been up to. Again, also just family. You know, having a teenager, I'm gonna blink and she's gonna, you know, she already is asking to go on college tours, and so we're planning on that this summer. And then I got another one, a 7-year-old who is just I blink and she's gonna be 13 herself or 14 herself. So I just trying to have those moments and enjoy those. What about yourself? What's kind of your, you know, for lack of better terms, your New Year's resolution?
Um, I think decluttering is a big thing. I think that, now I didn't watch the show in its entirety, but I do watch the clips from, uh, a girl who talks about sparking joy
Oh, okay. Yep.
from, like, cleaning and decluttering, and not saying that, we're messy, but, like, I have a lot of stuff that I don't use, and I think it would, serve a much larger purpose, in the hands of those who actually need it and would enjoy it. So, I am practicing a healthy amount of minimalism. I'm trying to stick to the bare necessities when it comes to technology, and then trying to translate that into physical space.
Mhm.
It's a little difficult with kids. They want a bunch of toys, and mine are all young. So, and I think that the balance of not having a lot, um, I could probably do that with them, and that would help them with their cluttered brains as well, right? I feel like this generation of children, they're so engaged all the time, whether it's through electronic devices, TV, social media, even the toys. Like, my kids don't know how to turn off. So I'm trying to create spaces that allow anybody to just breathe, take the moment in for what it is, and just like stop and smell the roses.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm picking up is we're gonna have garage sales galore.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a storage unit I wanna empty out. It's got a ton of board games, ton of Legos, Star Wars sealed Legos. I think there's an opportunity to make a couple bucks there, so,
Yeah, I mean
uh
that is sealed Legos are just as hot as TCGs. I'll tell you that.
yeah, I know, that wasn't even the intention, so, to s so we don't drag this on too long, but, the goal was to, buy these sets as they come out, and then once we have, a place that's adequate enough to display them, we would build them, and cherish them, but that hasn't happened. So, they sit in storage, and then just, over time, between the cost of storage and it just sits there, it's kinda out of place or out of sight, out of mind. So the thought of building them has kind of, like, already departed my brain, and I'd like to get something out of them.
Yeah.
But I've got some pretty cool ones. I've got the big Millennium Falcon, that massive 8,000 plus piece, like, it is ginormous. I've got, Boba Fett's ship. I forgot what it's called. Do not crucify
It
me.
it has multiple names. It used to be called Slave One, but
Wait,
it
no,
has
I take it
been
back. Sorry. The Mandalorian ship.
oh, okay, yes.
I do have the OG Slave One Star Wars collector, that I actually did build, and it's on display because it's not that big. I've probably taken that thing apart and built it 4 times, and I love it. I think it's such a that one's a really fun one to build. Um, but, um but yeah, so a lot of that, a lot of time with the kids. I know it sounds silly to think about it, but like summer is truly around the corner. So want to plan and do stuff with them. being in South Florida, the theme parks are not far, so kids are always interested in doing that. So that could be in the horizon, and then just playing cards when I have time.
Heck yeah, I know. Hopefully, we can also link up and maybe do something together. I always enjoy conversation and engaging with you, so hopefully we can do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have always in person. We got to do this in person. It's completely different. And thank you to the power of the internet that allows us to do this the way it is right now, and for it to be as easily consumable for those that are watching. So, but we'll definitely plan for something like that too. So, but yeah. So with that being said, I think we'll close it out for today. Thank you again for joining us and listening to us ramble about Lorcana, TCGs, life surrounding it, Legos, CrossFit. We are slowly turning into a variety YouTube channel. So
We are, and it's my favorite thing is the different walks of life that bring people together and run the space. So again, like I said, if anyone has thoughts, feels, or things they want us to cover, please put it down below. We're gonna work on some special guests, some people that I feel like can bring some light on their strategies and how they manage their emotions and or the pressures of competition and here in the future. So I think our 2026 I feel like looks bright for this podcast as well as just the Lorcana community.
yeah, and let us know down in the comments below, who would you like to see on the show, and give us some ideas that we haven't thought of yet.
100%.
Awesome. Well, that being said, take care, everyone. Have a good night. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself, and we will see you next time.